Then here I am going to talk about some kind of cluster design for nanosatellites. So nowadays we are all aware that we have renowned awareness about the space program as ISRO is launching cost-effective satellites day by day. So I am trying to give some of my inputs in it. Although it is just a simulation work, but right now we are trying to design it and through the MEMS technologies actually. And here we are trying to design that electrothermal thruster for nanosatellites. And where is electronics in it? Because actually many of the things are related to mechanical part, but here this microwave electrothermal means we have to give input through the microwave to actually heat a gas to create it in the form of plasma, and that plasma is then allowed to pass through some kind of a nozzle so that we can have effective thrust. And thrust we all know is some kind of a force. So it is just our 11th, 12th class physics, second law and third law of Newton. So that we have to deal with here, and then we will try to check what is actually good here. Myself, Dr. Nikhildeep Gupta, and this work is done by my MTech student, Pooja Kavle. So this is the outline of my introduction, proposed design, working description, numerical analysis, then results. I wish to keep it to the more general part because of the general audience here. So here, why there is a need and what is good about this electrical propulsion system. Actually, this electrothermal thruster is a subcategory of electric propulsion system. And mostly, whenever we talk about ISRO, NASA, JAXA, and all the other space agencies, mostly they are using chemical-based propulsion systems. Chemical-based propulsion systems, they have the problem as well as the advantage. Obviously, as they have the advantage, that's why all the industry people are using it. But those chemical systems also have some problem. When we have those launch vehicles which are required to launch heavy payload-based satellites, almost 60% part of them is because of the payload which is due to the fuel itself. When we are talking for the chemical-based system. So when we are talking in the industry, we always have a look towards the payload, because with the increase in every pound of payload, it has been said that it increases the overall cost of the system by around $5,000 to $10,000. So that should not be the case when we are just increasing the payload actually just for supplying the fuel to increase the lifetime of the operation. So in that case, but although I am claiming that yesterday I have read a news in newspaper that a Blue Origin company owned by Amazon, they have actually tested a satellite based on coal gas based propulsion system, and they were actually successful in taking their satellite to the Karman line, which is the internationally recognized line of space. So that is always research is all about. It is just recycling itself. So still I am not going to that part. Cold gas is the simplest of all, but it has the least of the efficiencies because it does not have any system to heat the gas. It is just convergent and divergent kind of nozzle which is actually giving you the thrust. Then we have, which is the most obvious, as I have told you, in chemical we have some kind of chemicals like hydrogen, nitrogen we have, and then we try to give some kind of thermal energy which allow them to expand, and actually these chemical based propulsion system works and limited by the bond energy of the chemicals. So they have the limitations. They cannot go beyond the bond energy of that chemical. So if one has to look towards overcoming that limitation with high efficiencies. High efficiencies here means with smaller amount of payload, we can have high operation times as well as higher specific impulse or thrust. Okay, so for that, electrical propulsion systems always have advantage over the other kind of propulsion systems. Then I will not take too much of a time for introduction only, but try to sum it up. Then that electrical propulsion systems are then again subcategorized into many propulsion systems. They have the system where electrically your propellant is getting heated, and then through that heat mechanism we try to transfer the energy to the propellant, and then propellant then again can be coming out from your propulsion system to give the thrust. Okay, that is as simple as that. And that thrust is nothing but according to the Newton's third law. For every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So on the basis of that it works. So in EPS system, although it is not fundamentally limited by the chemical energy of the bonds and something kind of that, there also have some problem that here if we need to have higher efficiencies, if we need to have higher operation time, we need high power inputs. Okay, and also there are some kind of limitations when we are talking in terms of electrostatics, electromagnetics, electrothermal. So here we are actually, means I do not have liberty of time to deal with every kind of comparison, but here when we are talking about in terms of electrostatic, obviously we only have electrostatic where we have to use the system, we have to use the electric field to modulate the ions created by that energy which is given by some kind of electric means, and then that ions when coming out through the thrust, in order to reduce their repulsion again into the system, we have to neutralize those particular ions by giving back the electrons. So there the limitation is that we have the complexity of the overall system. So we have, means the researchers have gone through the combination of some kind of technique which they have adapted from chemical propulsion systems and also from electrical propulsion systems. So that's why they have moved towards the electrothermal propulsion systems, where in electrothermal system basically what happens, although we are heating with the help of electrical energy means, we are actually giving off our gas by thermal means only. Means that heated propellant, that heated gas will again allowed to pass through the nozzle through the convergent and divergent means, and then that will give you the thrust actually. Okay, one of the difficult part in the propulsion system design is the erosion of the walls of the propulsion system itself. So in the chemical based propulsion system there is also a problem of that erosion. Okay, also there are different kind of electrothermal propulsion system. There too in resistojet the overall performance is limited by the melting point of the resistive element, which is actually heated to give the electrical energy to the propellant. Then in arc jet the corrosion of the walls is a problem. In RF then again there is a limitation of the energy that we can provide at that particular frequency. And over that now we have moved towards our part, which is microwave electrothermal thruster. Microwave electrothermal thruster has better efficiency as well as stability as compared to all of them. And why is it so? We will discuss in the later part. This is just to indicate you how the thruster is all about, how it works. This is, if I will talk about the cold gas, then this is the gas chamber, or this is just a chamber where your propellant is all. Then this is just your convergent and divergent part from where we allowed our gas to pass through, and from here then up to the second law of Newton and the third law of Newton you can get the outward gas, and that will push you in the forward direction. Okay, on the principle of which your all the launches are based upon. Okay, so here my motive is demonstrate the numerical optimization and parameter analysis of the two different shaped cavities. Here in microwave thruster there is a limitation that either we have to use the small frequency of operation in microwave region itself, but that will require high power. But if we have to increase the frequency, then means if we can increase the frequency of operation, then required power will be reduced for the same amount of time of operation as well as same propellant which is required for the lifetime of the operation. But that will create another problem. For high frequency microwaves what happens? for high frequency microwaves, what happens? It is obvious that reflection increases. Yes? And also the waveguide design become a complex issue. Okay? It is all about, we have to look at, we have to optimize our waveguides, we have to optimize the structure here, and we have done that through simulation. And right now we are actually working with ISC for the design of that. Now next is the design of the proposed structure. So our design is, it actually consists of microwave source. Microwave sources are magnetron only. Magnetron, actually the operation is designed to work at 30 gigahertz. Till date, the operatable microwave electrothermal thrusters which are available, they can only work at 14.5 gigahertz. Actually that input frequency also depends upon the available microwave sources that can give input up to that power. So here we have actually checked that 30 gigahertz microwave sources up to 10 watt input powers are available, and here in order to create the plasma we only need 5 to 6 watt of input power. So 30 gigawatt of microwave source that can give up to 10 watt of input powers that are readily available. So that we have actually used as our input microwave source. Then we have the antenna zone. Then there is a dielectric plate to save the antenna from the plasma zone, so that that antenna itself can be protected from the plasma discharge. Okay. Then there is a plasma discharge where we have to put our all the microwave input energy so that we can create the propellant plasma out of our gas, and that will transfer its energy to the propellant. And then the purpose is to allow our propellant to pass through this nozzle again to give you the optimized thrust. Okay, maximized thrust. So it is just means whatever I have already speak to you, that resonant cavity is divided into two parts, antenna zone and plasma zone, and the input is applied to the first part, antenna zone, and then that dielectric plate position is optimized so that maximum power will be transferred to your plasma zone, where you have to transfer your power to the propellant so that your propellant will go out with the highest available temperature and it will give you the maximized thrust. Okay, and this is the very general equation which is being used for the design of the microwave cavities. So here, in order to design the microwave cavity, the cylindrical cavity is already very well known, but here we have actually changed the structure of that cylindrical cavity in the form of a frustum shaped cavity, so that electron density, as the size is reduced, density will obviously increase, but with the reduction in the size, it actually giving you the better performance, better coupling, or better transfer of power from your input energy, input microwave energy to the plasma. Okay, and that plasma is then transferring your power to the propellant. It is not some kind of a trick or something, means it is just obvious. If you reduce the size of something, there is a small place, but you have to make it sure that the number of electrons should remain the same. Otherwise, if the number of electrons will also reduce, then there will obviously be reduction, or there will be the constant electron density. So here the point is that even with the reduction in the size of the cavity, the number of electrons remains the same, and as the volume is reduced, the overall density has increased, and as the density of the ionized gas is increased, that transfer of power from your ionized gas to the propellant has increased. Okay, so here we have optimized the size of each and every parameter of this cavity. This cavity is actually made up of boron, this cavity as well as nozzle, both of them are made up of boron. This is the working principle which we have discussed. So I will go to pass to the results. So dimensions of the nozzles which are optimized. Sorry to take your time, I will try to finish it up fast. Okay, radius is optimized. It is optimized in such a way that we have considered the frustum cavity as a cylindrical cavity having a smaller height. So we have divided that frustum cavity into a number of regions. Okay, so each and every part of that has been optimized, and then we have tried to make it make this optimization by keeping the input frequency as well as power constant. The input frequency was 30 gigahertz as well as input power is 6 watt, because the minimum power required to create the plasma was 5 watt. We have kept that to around 6 watt. So another important factor, because we have talked about our cavity, and the important factor while designing a propulsion system is the Mach number. Mach number means, if you have any idea about the speed of sound, so anything whenever we relate with the speed of sound is given by the Mach number. Okay, so in Mach number, why it is important? Because Mach number gives you the velocity by which your propellant is traveling in the nozzle actually. Okay, so the output, we have ideally considered that there are no losses, and then your microwave cavity is connected to the nozzle, and the output of your microwave cavity is equal to the input which is supplied to the nozzle. So the requirement here is that we have to improve the exhaust velocity. So in order to increase the thrust, first we have to increase the exhaust velocity. So that we have optimized, and on the basis of that we are getting all the different results. So our frustum shaped cavity is all means giving all the parameters which are better as compared to a cylindrical cavity. So these are some of the results. This is for electric field distribution. This is electron density distribution. This is ion temperature. And one of the important factor is that plasma temperature is very high. So one can think about plasma means if plasma temperature is in thousands of Kelvin, why my boron is not getting melted? Actually, that particular plasma is situated near to the axial direction, and its temperature reduces, or the transfer of power from the axis to the walls of the cavity is not that much, so that your walls are getting melted. Okay, this is given by this particular, where Cp actually depends upon the gas constant, and m is also the mass of the electrons, which is very small. So the overall transfer of power from the plasma to the walls of the cavity very small. And these are all the optimized values. This we have kept constant, and also we have kept constant the input frequency, and on the basis of that we can see that the most important parameter here is the maximum temperature of ions which we are achieving in case of cylindrical cavity and in case of frustum cavity. This temperature is around 10. We have also compared our results with this HET, which is Hall based thruster. Right now ISRO is working on both Hall thrusters as well as on microwave thrusters. So Hall thruster right now they are taking up, but we have also compared the performance of one of the available parameters of Hall thruster which are with our device, and we have checked that although the thrust which was given by the Hall based thruster is higher, but the overall efficiency of our device is much better as compared to that Hall based thruster. So efficiency here is just nothing but the amount of propellant required to generate a specific thrust. Okay, so here they require more amount of mass to generate a specific thrust, which is given by specific impulse actually. So this is all about conclusion, and sorry I do not have that much time to discuss everything here.